C.S. Lewis and the Island of His Birth. That's the title of my new book on C.S. Lewis. I'm Sandy Smith and I have lived in East Belfast, where C.S. Lewis was born in 1898. This is the C.S. Lewis Centre at Belmont Tower in East Belfast, close to where C.S. Lewis was born. So why the need for another new book on C.S. Lewis? Well, C.S. Lewis once said that his expectation was that 5 years after his death, that his work would have faded into obscurity. Clearly, that is not the case. And today, books like The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe have become classics among children's literature. Behind me is the apartment block on Dundela Avenue, which marks the birthplace of the location of the house that C.S. Lewis was born in. Lewis was born here in 1898. He begins his book, Surprised by Joy, with these words: "I was born in the winter of 1898 at Belfast, the son of a solicitor and a clergyman's daughter." Apart from that event which took place here, what else happened here that was important in Lewis's story? What happened in the very gardens around this house in which he was born? I describe those events and tell that story and capture the image in chapter 1 of my book, C.S. Lewis and the Island of His Birth. I'm standing on the road in East Belfast and outside the home to which the Lewises moved in 1905. C.S. Lewis says of this house, he said, "The house is a major character in my story. I am a product of long corridors, empty sunlit rooms, upstairs indoor silences, attics explored in solitude." C.S. Lewis had 3 years here as a child in idyllic surroundings, but what were the stories and the events that took place here that ultimately led Lewis to leave the island of his birth? Standing inside St. Mark's Church, and we're right in front of the window that C.S. Lewis installed in 1933 in memory of his mother and father. This was the church where his grandfather was the rector, and just over to my left is the font where C.S. Lewis as a child was baptised here by his grandfather, the Reverend Thomas R. Hamilton. And of course, with a name like Hamilton, that gives us a clue that in C.S. Lewis's background and ancestry there is a strong Scottish connection, which is outlined in my book, C.S. Lewis and the Island of His Birth. This piece of public art was installed in 1998 to mark the centenary of Lewis's birth in the city. To many people in East Belfast, they would refer to this as the C.S. Lewis statue, but that would be wrong on all counts. First of all, the piece has a name. The piece is called The Searcher. It's called The Searcher for a reason. And this figure in the piece was not intended by the artist to be C.S. Lewis. The artist drew on a figure from The Magician's Nephew in one of Lewis's books as the figure that's in the piece. But where did Lewis draw on in his own imagination for the character in his book? And what link does that have to Belfast and to the island of his birth?